I thought I had the perfect life until I found out my wife was cheating and my daughters lied to cover it up. For nearly 30 years, I believed I was living the kind of life people dream of. I married my wife, Jane, when she was 20 and I was 22. We had nothing, barely scraping by, but we had each other and we were happy. We built everything from the ground up: a home, a life, a family. Together, we raised two daughters, Alice and Maddie. They were my world, my pride, my joy. Alice, the oldest, is 26 now, always the high achiever, valedictorian in high school, graduated top of her college class, and now she's planning a wedding for this fall. Maddie is 24, more easygoing and lighthearted, always full of smiles. She and I have always been especially close. And Jane? I thought we had a strong marriage. Sure, there were tough times, money problems when the girls were little, the occasional argument, health scares, but we pulled through everything, together. I genuinely believed we'd grow old side by side, sitting on a porch somewhere, laughing at the chaos of our youth. I loved her completely. Then, last week, everything came crashing down. It started like any ordinary day. Jane told me she was meeting Alice and Maddie for their usual girls' dinner, a little tradition they had every couple of weeks. I never questioned it. In fact, I loved that they were so close. It made me feel like I'd done something right as a husband and father. That evening, Jane was getting ready upstairs while I sipped coffee in the kitchen, scrolling through my phone. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Nothing unusual. She often texted with the girls when making plans, but this time, for reasons I still can't explain, I picked it up. I didn't have any reason to be suspicious, but I looked. What I saw made my heart stop. It was a message from an unsaved number. "Can't wait to see you tonight." I froze. At first I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it wasn't what it seemed. Maybe it was a friend or colleague. But the gut feeling was too strong. I opened the thread. It was her boss. The texts weren't long, but the tone was unmistakable, flirty, familiar, affectionate. They'd been planning this dinner, and it was not work-related. My stomach turned. My hands shook as I scrolled through older messages. Things like, "I miss you too?" I was in disbelief. My wife, the woman I'd built my life with, raised a family with, was having an affair. I wanted to confront her immediately, but I didn't. I needed to be absolutely sure. A few minutes later, Jane came downstairs. She looked beautiful. She smiled at me, kissed me on the cheek, and said, "Don't wait up, okay?" I somehow managed to nod and say, "Have fun with the girls." As soon as she walked out the door, I picked up her phone again and turned on location sharing. I'd never done anything like that before, but I didn't care. I needed the truth. Not long after, her location updated. She wasn't going to the restaurant they usually went to. She was headed somewhere else, somewhere we'd been together, as a family. I texted Alice and Maddie, "What time are you meeting Mom for dinner?" Both replied within minutes. Alice said, "7, can't wait to see her." Maddie said something similar. They were lying. My daughters were lying to me. That was the moment I realized this betrayal went deeper than I ever imagined. Jane wasn't the only one keeping secrets. The rest of the day was a blur of offices, meetings, and repeating my story to strangers who tried to stay professional, even though I could see the judgment in their eyes. By the end of it, I'd chosen a lawyer. Tough, sharp, and, most importantly, aggressive. I told her I wanted things to be clean and fast, but I wasn't about to let Jane walk away with anything she didn't deserve. She assured me she'd handled plenty of cases like this. It didn't exactly ease my mind, but at least I felt like I wasn't alone. That night, alone in my brother's guest room, I started thinking about what I would say to Jane. I hadn't confronted her yet. I'd been avoiding it, not just because I wasn't sure I could stay calm, but because I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of defending herself. What could she possibly say to make any of this okay? Still, I knew I couldn't avoid her forever, so I prepared. I wrote down everything I wanted to say, every question I needed answered, every point I refused to let slide. I didn't know if I'd actually read from the page, but writing it down gave me a sense of control. It reminded me I wasn't just a passive victim in all this. But the hardest part? Thinking about Alice and Maddie. I hadn't spoken to them since I sent those texts, and honestly, I didn't know if I could. How do you talk to your daughters after finding out they've been lying to you for months? How do you begin to rebuild something that feels so deeply broken? I wanted to believe Maddie's apologies were real, that she truly regretted her part in this. But how could I believe her? How could I believe anything she said now? And Alice, her cold, dismissive response shattered something in me. I always knew she was closer to Jane, but I never thought she'd choose her mother over me like this. It felt like she had already made her choice, and it wasn't me. That night, I made another choice of my own. I wasn't going to chase them. If they wanted to fix things, they'd have to come to me. I wouldn't beg for forgiveness. I wouldn't plead for explanations. They made their decisions. Now they could live with them. Lying there in the dark, I felt a strange calm settle over me. For the first time since this whole thing started, I didn't feel completely lost. I had a plan. It wasn't much, and it sure wouldn't fix everything, but it was something. I was done being the victim. From now on, I was taking control. After 2 days of hiding out in my brother's guest room, dodging phone calls, and sorting through everything in my head, I knew it was time. Time to face Jane? Avoiding her wouldn't change anything. I had things to say, things she needed to hear. So I texted her late that night. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the house. She replied almost immediately, I'll be there. Please, just let me explain. Explain? What was there to explain? I didn't answer. I'd save it for when we were face to face. The next morning, I got up early and drove to what used to be our home. The second I stepped through the front door, a wave of memories hit me. Birthdays, holidays, anniversaries, late-night talks. It was all tainted now. Everything that had been good in that house now felt hollow. Jane showed up right on time. Her eyes were swollen and red, like she hadn't stopped crying in days. She clutched her phone like it was a shield, and I noticed her wedding ring was gone. That hit harder than I expected. Thanks for agreeing to meet, she said softly, lingering near the door like she wasn't sure she was welcome. Don't thank me, I replied, my voice colder than I intended. I'm not here to make this easier for you. That set the tone. We sat at the dining room table, the same one where we'd had hundreds of family dinners. She launched right in, saying everything I expected. It wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. Over and over, like if she said it enough times, it might start sounding true. Stop, I finally said. I don't want excuses. I want answers. She blinked at me. What do you mean? How long? She hesitated. A few months? Try again. Her face crumpled. Almost a year. I clenched my fists under the table. A year. A whole damn year of lies. And the girls? How long have they known? She flinched. Not the whole time. I told them a couple months ago. I didn't mean to drag them into it. But you did, I cut in. You made them part of your lie. Do you have any idea what that's done to me? She broke down, sobbing. I never meant to hurt you. I was just unhappy. Unhappy? I snapped, my voice echoing in the empty house. You were unhappy, so you decided to blow up our family, cheat on me, pull our daughters into your mess? Do you even understand what you've done, Jane? She didn't answer, just cried into her hands, and for the first time, I didn't feel sorry for her. You've destroyed everything, I said quietly. Not just our marriage, but my relationship with our daughters. How do I trust them again? How do I even look at them without seeing this betrayal? She whispered. I didn't want them to lie to you. I didn't want any of this. Then why did you do it? I asked. Why didn't you come to me if you were so unhappy? Why didn't you try to fix it instead of sneaking around behind my back? She had no answer. Maybe she did, but it didn't matter. I stood up. I'm filing for divorce, I said. You'll hear from my lawyer soon. Please don't do this, she begged, rising to her feet. We can fix it. There's nothing to fix, I said. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. At the door, I turned one last time. Oh, and don't expect me to pay for Alice's wedding anymore. She can ask her boss to cover it, since you're both so good at keeping secrets. Her face crumpled again, but I didn't wait to see the tears. As I left, I passed the family photos in the hallway. Me, Jane, Alice, Maddie, smiling like the perfect family. I used to love those photos. Now they felt like a cruel joke. I ripped one from the wall, Alice's graduation. I hurled it to the floor. The glass shattered. I felt something in that moment. Satisfaction, maybe. But it didn't last. Walking to my car, I knew the real fight was just beginning. Facing Jane was one thing, but now I had to face Alice and Maddie. I had to decide whether there was anything left to salvage. And more than anything, I had to figure out how to live in a world where the life I thought I had, the life I spent nearly 3 decades building, no longer existed.